Good evening and welcome to Voice of the Province. I'm Brian Kieran, a political columnist for the Province newspaper based here in Victoria. My guest this evening is Gordon Shaw, the Vice Chairman of the Reform Party of Canada for British Columbia. Good evening, Gordon.
Good evening, Brian.
Good to have you with us.
Nice to be here.
Glad that you braved the snow and the ice rink that's out there. We'll be taking your calls in just a little while at 381-1001 to talk about the Reform Party, where it's going, what it hopes to do for you, how it's going to fill the void of political leadership in Western Canada and maybe beyond there. But first I want to talk to Gordon about some of the issues that I think are probably on your minds as well as on mine. Gordon, in the last couple of months, we have seen a Senate battle over the GST that has been a real sorry chapter in Canadian history. Canadians look at Brian Mulroney and Jean Chrétien for leadership, and they see nothing. And the polls reflect that. It's pretty pathetic if you're a mainline party leader these days. The polls also tell us that the Reform Party in Western Canada is poised to make real inroads in the federal political landscape. And yet, I recall having a chat with Preston Manning, your leader, a little more than a year ago, who maybe when things didn't look quite as bright as they do now for the Reform Party, suggested that parties born out of protest are destined to collapse at some point and be replaced with something else. I think at the time we were talking about the Western Canada concept and how it had grown and fizzled. Give us a sense where the party has come from and how you are situated today. You've grown. Your growth has been wild. What's happening?
Well, you're right, Brian. Our growth has been nothing short of phenomenal, even exceeded our wildest expectations. We started the party just a little over 3 years ago with about 300 people, and today we have membership something in excess of 60,000 here now. And you're right about the protest parties eventually don't really make a major mark. They flare briefly and usually die. And I don't think there's any doubt that our party was formed largely because of protest and discontent with the Canadian federal political system. But I think what perhaps distinguishes us from any other pure protest party is that we have come up with some fairly positive proposals in terms of what can be done in Canadian politics, which is appealing now to many people. And I think we are being viewed more than just a protest party now, and which I think augurs well for our future, in that we do stand a chance of survival given what's happened to the other parties in Canada, as you mentioned.
Just before the show started, you were telling me about some numbers in Ontario, which I find quite phenomenal. I mean, what do people in Ontario see in the Reform Party? I just thought it was basically Alberta-based with great growth in British Columbia. What in heaven's name is there in it for somebody in Ontario? What's happening there?
Well, just to indicate, first to tell you why we're even considering the Ontario matter. When the party was founded, a decision was made, although we said we'd be a national party, we would concentrate on building the party in Western Canada, establish a solid Western base, and then when we felt that we had achieved that, we would look beyond and see whether the rest of the country was interested in reform, whether our message went well in those parts of the country. So at our last assembly, the members directed the council to establish a committee to look at what we called expansion of the party. And in fact, I'm chairing that expansion activity. So in the course of that, our leader made a trip into Ontario and Atlantic provinces, a bit of a speaking tour. That was in March, and then in June I followed up to establish a bit of a network of some people down there to just consider whether that part of the world was ready for the Reform Party. Well, we have been quite overwhelmed with the response. And because in the latest Environics poll, we've now got 8% of the decided vote in Ontario. And there's organization going on there in some 70 out of the 99 federal constituencies. And this is all happening spontaneously by people in Ontario with the resources, the dollars are there. It hasn't taken away anything from the effort here in Western Canada. And when we go to examine it, well, why are you interested? Why is our message going over so well there? Well, we find that the issues on the minds of people in Ontario are no different than they are here in Western Canada. And they're no different than the people in Atlantic Canada for the same reason. They are not being represented by their Member of Parliament. They're saying, we elect someone and they go up there and 4 years later they come back for our vote, but we never hear from them in the interim. Or if we hear from them, they're bringing Ottawa's message to us rather than carrying our message to Ottawa. They're concerned about government spending. They're concerned about the fiscal state of this country, as people in Western Canada are. So you see, the issues are essentially the same, and they transcend all the geographic boundaries.